Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nerdy Up North podcast, the Nerdy podcast, hosted by two Northern nerds. I'm one of your hosts, Sam.
And I'm the other host, Paul.
And today is a special one. I'm really looking forward to today. We've got no news. We're just getting straight into it because I do think this would be lengthy, I believe.
I agree, yeah. Like I say, we're both big fans of what we're going to be discussing. It shouldn't have, but it probably did have a lot of basis on our both of our childhoods.
Massively. And we will get into that because I have... It all stems my child. I even know the moment where it all started as well, and I'll talk about that later. But today's top 5 is top 5 horror movies, but no slasher films.
Yes, and the definition of that was quite difficult to comprehend because when you think of horror films, you think of all the different supernatural and different elements, and but when you base it down, killer chases the victims with blades or knives, then that, in my eyes, would always be classed as a slasher.
Yep, and that's what made this list incredibly difficult.
I have to admit,
that was the point.
The other lists have been hard. The toys one was probably the easiest one for me, but this one probably has changed more than the others. Just because, like I say, every time you think about one, there's a new one that pops in your head. And then what do you base it on? Do you base it on the ones that scared you the most, the ones you enjoyed the most, or the ones that you can watch again? So there's a lot of factors.
I based mine on what I could watch again and what I have watched a million times.
Right.
And so the easy watches where I can go back to, and that's what I based it on, because if I started going into other ones, we could be here all day. Because I have not, it's very rare that I find a horror film that I cannot not enjoy. I tend to find something out of every one that I've watched recently, even the newest horror films, that I've tend to enjoyed. It's it's a very rare thing that I don't enjoy some form of horror.
Nick's a bigger horror fan than me, but she loves the gory and the nasty, where I'm more psychological and what you don't show me will scare me more than what you do show me type thing. Like say that's why I think when it comes to other films like the Saw films got a bit too much for us. I liked the first one and the others then was a bit much. But
you've just brought it back to us. I actually saw Saw 2 with your lady wife. It was a Thursday night. We were out in Chambers. It was boring. So we went and seen the Cinema Times and went and caught Saw 2 instead. It was literally about 9 o'clock at night. We were so bored. So we just went over to the cinema over the road, found this, that bloody Saw 2 was starting. So we all just jumped in there. It was great. I loved it.
Doesn't surprise us at all. Like say, when we're sitting on a night time, you think there's something to watch. I'll go, oh, what do you fancy watching? She never knows what she wants to watch, but then she'll go, I'll put a horror on. It's like, but we've seen them about 15 times because when it comes to October, that's like our month. We do some people do like on Halloween, but for the whole of October we watch a horror film every night, and we'll find stuff either new, but there's old classics and stuff that we would always go back to.
Yeah, horror's been massive in my life since I was about 8 years old, and it's the one thing that's been my consistent love. Nothing will overcome me love for superheroes and Star Wars and stuff like that. But outside of that, horror is.
Do you not just think it's the same type of aspect though? Because like say with the superheroes, it's the heroes with the superpowers, but it's like kind of like the reverse now. Like the horrors are like are the nasties with the powers and people are overturning them. That's why I always think horror and superheroes, or even like say sci-fi and stuff like that, go hand in hand because they've always got that type of element.
I see what you're trying to do there. So we're going to get into top 5 horror films that are non-slashers. Do you want to go first?
I'll let you, because like I went first last week, and this is your jam, shall we say?
Okay. So I don't really know where to start because there is a few where I'm like. So I think I'll start with this one. It's 2013. Mm-hmm. It is a franchise.
Right.
This is the starting point of the franchise, directed by James Wan.
Right, okay. Let's see where you're going.
The Conjuring. I absolutely love this universe, apart from fucking Annabelle.
Right. See, I loved the way they used Annabelle in this.
Did you just clap?
I did clap, yeah.
That is the one bit that really freaks us out. Absolutely freaks me out. Don't like it. That was the biggest jump scare when I first watched it, and the clap behind, I was going, oh, I screamed.
No, that, like, it was them little elements in that film that I absolutely loved. But going back to what you said about Annabelle, again, I'm not a big fan of the Annabelle films. I know there's people, like, say, one of my friends, Jo, who absolutely loves Annabelle. She's got the doll and she puts it on her. She's got the actual doll that was made in the film as well, like one of the extra ones. But she puts it on out of a window each day and moves it, so when people walk past, they get a shock. But
that is amazing. It's not that I don't. I actually enjoyed the Annabelle. I didn't write this down because I didn't think I'd be talking about it much. It was the origin of Annabelle, where they're in the farmhouse and the little girls.
Yeah.
I did really enjoy that one. What I don't like about Annabelle is her herself.
Right. So the
look of her, and it's not because she's creepy, but the point of Annabelle was that she was a Raggedy Ann doll.
Yeah.
That was creepy. Just that in itself, that is fucking terrifying.
So
that Raggedy Ann doll.
If they could have used it, it seems like a big change, but
why make her look demonic when it just didn't make any sense to us? I hate the look of her. I hate the look even more when I realised that because when I used to have me little goth stage, I had no eyebrows and used to draw them in, and we looked the same.
So it's more of a self-reflection of Annabelle that you didn't like.
Exactly. I kept looking at her going, oh, it's time to grow my eyebrows back in. But if it was a Raggedy Ann doll, I think it would have had a completely different effect. Really? But I absolutely loved The Conjuring. It's the real story of the Perron family and the haunting of their Rhode Island farmhouse. Mm-hmm. And I just love that. I know people didn't like the idea that it was Ed and Lorraine Warren, because there's a lot of people not fans of Ed and Lorraine Warren, but but they just, I see them as characters, and they're like it's not them. It's just a character version of them.
It's like them to the extreme, because when you see photos of the original Ed and Lorraine Warren, like, say, they couldn't, in a fight or in any action scenes, there wouldn't be much use, shall we say.
No, they really are. They really were punching with, like, Patrick Wilson playing Ed Warren, because he ain't a patch on the real version. But I love the start. I enjoyed The Conjuring too, even though I know fine well that the Warrens had very little to do with the Enfield haunting. But it's still just a part of the universe. It was just a part of the universe, and you've got the new one coming out in a few weeks.
That one looks good. I'm quite interested in that one.
I was going to say a few weeks' time, but it's not. It's a few months' time, isn't it? It's like
no, it's end of this month.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I wasn't too far off them. But The Conjuring, I really enjoy them. It is something I can go back to, and I can watch regularly and still get that spooky feeling from it. I do thoroughly enjoy them, and with my list, I try to take from different areas and different time periods of horror, so it's not all clumped together. So this was kind of like my early horror, and as much as there's other ones I could have picked from, this one just stood out to us more just because of the amount of times I've actually watched it.
Yeah, like I've got, like, I'll admit, like, nearly got into my top 5 purely for the same reasons that you've talked about. But the things that kind of not let it down, but the things that kind of dragged it out a bit of it was, as I said, the Annabelle doll was probably more creepy if you used the original, but also the makeup for the witch. I didn't think it looked a bit too cartoony and too special effects. If they used it a little bit more realistic,
I get you.
Where they did use Insidious a little bit more, when they didn't go as rubbery and stuff.
I was Peter and tottering between the two, but I've only ever seen the first Insidious. I've not watched the rest of them, so that's why I didn't choose it. But I thoroughly do enjoy. Like, I think Patrick Wilson fits into the horror genre perfectly because he's so straight with it.
Yeah, he's very likable as well.
He very much is. And Vera, I've got a name. I can't say it. Farmiga? Am I saying that right? I don't know.
I'm not going to try to say it with my accent.
Well, she is. I think she is such a great actress to start with. She was brilliant in Bates Motel.
Yes.
And I thoroughly, and I like her sister as well. And I really look forward to The Nun. Mm-hmm. I was really looking forward to that, and I don't know if it was the cinema we were at, because it's happened twice to us while I was there. I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
It was so dark that I couldn't actually make out. And the only other time it's happened at the same cinema was with Solo.
Mm-hmm.
When it was the dark, I could not make anything out. And it's not, my eyesight is terrible, but I can make images out. I could not see a thing, and it really ruined it for us.
That's one of the films I've never, like, it's very rare I don't finish a film, but The Nun, I got very bored with earlier on. But going back to The Conjuring, one of the things I loved about it as well, I know they probably will redo it at some point. It had a very Amityville feel to it as well. The whole possessed house and stuff.
Well, the anime they were at, one of their cases is Amityville.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they left it out, because the Parent Family is a real story, and but when I was doing a bit of research today, I generally couldn't find anything that said Ed and Lorraine Warren were there. Like, I really couldn't. Like, I looked in their Wikipedia, it had their case listings, and Amityville was on there, but nothing about this. No. And also the one that the next film's based on. But I know what you mean. Like, obviously the house element of it, but Amityville bores the tears. I chose my words carefully there. Bores the tears out of us. I'm not interested in the supernatural aspects of Amityville. What I'm more interested in is the murders that took place there.
Yeah.
Like, that's interesting, but not the supernatural part of it. It makes it look like a massive farce.
But going back to what you said as well about the jump scares and The Conjuring, they don't overuse it and they use it well. Like the whole clap.
James Wan is very good at doing that.
Yeah, the whole clap, like say, that still scares us now, just like when you watch it. But all aspects of like, one thing that you run a risk with when you do films like that, when you use a lot of child actors, a lot of the child actors can become annoying, and like I say, you don't really relate to them. Like, I know it sounds horrible.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Well, the Babadook is a prime example. I get taken out of that film so many times because I want to punch that kid in the face.
I think that's the premise of the film. I think that's why that's what it's meant to do. But yeah, like I said, The Conjuring is one of my all-time favorite horror films. Like, Nick's not as loving it as me, because I think she gets a bit bored by it. But like I say, it's one I can watch over and over again.
I like the genre of it and where it fits in within horror. Because if we could talk about slashers, it's the same kind of thing with Scream.
Yeah.
But I'm going to save that for another time, because that will be coming up in another list. And
I think when we do that, I think our top 5 will pretty much. Might be 1 or 2 difference, but I think that would be quite identical.
Right, so there we go. Number 1 for me is The Conjuring. Your number 1?
Yes, I'm going to go a little bit different with this one. Not many people will see it as a horror film, but to me, it was one of the most scariest films I watched as a kid, and I still get scared about by watching it now. Roald Dahl's The Witches.
Wow, that is not what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, that's sexy. I thought I'd throw you a little one. Now, the cast with this back then was brilliant. Like, Angelica Houston had Rowan Atkinson in as well. As like bit parts. And like, say, when you think of little kid actors who do get on your nerves, the little kid who plays Luke is endearing. He's like, say, he's not annoying at all.
His grandmother is. She doesn't fit in when she said, Luke.
But the whole premise of it, like I say, there's these women around the world that hate kids and looking to make them disappear in cruel and unusual ways. Like I say, the painting, Jesus, that whole painting bit terrified me as a kid. I would not go near, because my nana grandmother had a painting like it on the wall, not the same one, but similar. And I would not go near that painting in case I saw a little person who was on there that would slowly age and change and stuff. But it's like, say, little things like that terrified us. And when they got changed to the mouse, like I say, and everything getting changed with, and Angelica Houston was terrifying. And when she took that, like the face mask off, and you saw the actual face of the Grand Eye Witch, that was, like I said, to me, like I said, I still have nightmares about that.
She was terrifying, but I secretly wanted to get changed into a mouse.
Right, okay. So you can play his little fun part at the end, I think.
Yes, because did he not have the ghost house from Ghostbusters? Or am I making that up?
Yeah, he did. And the film had like a track that went through it. Mm-hmm. But again, going back to the cast, like the Grand High Wist's second command, Jane Horowitz has been in so many iconic British TV shows like Ab Fab and stuff like that.
And Little Voice. She's Little Voice, isn't she?
Yes, but she was great in it as well, because you always felt a little bit sorry for her. And when she turned into a nice witch, it was always her coming to term. But when you even like say the witches start poisoning and they get round the like little fat kid, I can't remember his name now. But when you think back, this film was made, let's have a look at the date. It was 1990, so you think it would have been, I always think about it as it being older, like when the 80s type thing, but no, I was quite, not old, but like I say, I was probably around about 8, 9 or 10 when I watched this, and it still sticks.
Hang on, I know exactly how old you'll be. You would have been 9.
Yeah.
I've got a date in the year, and I've got a date written down and how old I was at that year for later on.
Yeah, like I say, the whole aspects and the premise, like I say, I think it's, I don't know if, because it's probably classed as a kid's film, but I still think it's a horror film, in my opinion.
It's a really interesting choice, especially when you take slasher out of horror genre, which for me takes up nearly about 70% of what I love in horror. That is a really interesting choice. I really like that. Really different. Like
I told you I thought about these.
You really have. You have. I feel like I'm more prepared to do it, but that's a lot of, that's really good. I like that.
Deep cuts. No, that's the thing. Like I say, I went for films crossed with what scared us the most and what I've enjoyed the most as well. And that one, like I watched it. I watched the remake as well. Don't bother, it's shite.
I'm not gonna watch it. I don't like Anne Hathaway.
But that's some of the CGI takes away what some of the practical effects. Again, I think we had this discussion a long time ago. I would say a long time ago, a few podcasts ago, regarding, like, say, CGI takes you out of it a little bit more, where
practical effects all the way.
Gives you a bit more feels. And when he's changing when the fat lad's going, I've forgotten his name now, the little chubby kid.
I know who you mean.
He changes to the disgusting mouse and stuff, and you see like the smoke, the steam, and like he's having a fit, and
it's all puppetry, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the makeup as well, and Angelica Houston, that's for the time, incredible. Do you know who did the makeup?
No, I don't. I don't.
Let's have a
I'd be surprised if Jim Henson didn't have a thing to do with it, but again, that could be wrong.
The first name that came to my head was, because I love horror makeup, and the first person who came to my head was Rick Baker. And it's just because of the mold around the front, which made us think. But hang on, the witch's makeup artist, because I'd be really interested to know who did that makeup artist. Oh, okay. Oh, right, okay, Nigel Booth. I know that name. And Christine Beveridge. I've never heard of her. She was the key makeup artist, but I have heard of Nigel Booth. All right, and Nigel Booth did the prosthetics. Right, and she did the makeup. Oh, right, okay. Sorry, makeup and especially in horror movies fascinates the life out of us. Like, ever since I remember when we first went to Florida, and you'll know this, the horror movie makeup show.
Yes.
That's in
Yeah.
Universal Studios.
To do the old style, like all the old horror.
It's old.
Like
It's Tom
Frankenstein,
Savini.
Bride of
Yeah.
Frankenstein and stuff like that. Yes.
It's Tom Savini, and ever since I saw that, I was about, first time I went to Florida, I was 15, and I was just obsessed, like absolutely obsessed. Like if I didn't love horror then, it's certainly I was in love at that point, because it really fascinated the life out of us. And I've read like all of Tom Savini's books, and if I can find any articles on Rick Baker, I will, and watch any programs. I'm so fascinated by horror movie makeup.
Like I said, when I went to Florida and saw that was good, but there was a TV show, I'm sure it was called Face Off.
Yeah, I used to watch that as well.
Like I say, me and Nick, we used to watch it when they showed you how to make it. Some of the stuff they used to do was unbelievable, but I wouldn't like to be in the prosthetics for too long.
this is gonna lead into my last one that I'm making my main one, because of how much I love it. But the reason, it's not probably the reason I stopped watching it, but it certainly made us look at them very differently, is the Westmores.
Right.
Mackenzie Westmore is part of the Westmore dynasty.
Yeah.
Who were the makeup
My dad was
artists
on the show as well. Yeah. So.
Yeah, he's the nice. They are the nice Westmores, but there are some very bad Westmores, and if you know what I'm referring to, you're going to know what my number one top spot is. But yeah, it kind of made me turn my nose up a little bit at that program. However, I did start watching it again from the beginning recently. I just love it. I really do love it. I am so just fascinated, because my hands, whenever they get to do something creative, just turn to mush.
Yeah.
Like they don't work. I have it in my head that I can do these amazing things, and then when these bad boys get into play, it just everything just goes not the way it's meant to. I can't creatively put things together, but I love when just watching people do it. I think it's so fascinating.
Fascinating. No, it's the same with like Ink Master and stuff like that. It's the same type of genre as like the reality TV show.
I watched Ink Master fully. I watched it right up until the point where it did start to get a bit repetitive. And I know that's ridiculous because it's the same concept throughout, but I felt the critics and everything was just a bit, I've heard this last week, or I heard this last series. I'm just getting a bit sick. No but problem. Dave Navarro's hot, so that's the reason why I stayed involved in it.
So we'll move on nicely to your number 2.
Cool. Well, okay, so my number 2 is going to go with the fact that we've just been talking about practical effects. This had a lot of practical effects in it. 1982.
Right, okay.
Directed by the amazing Tove Hooper, if I'm saying that right. Poltergeist.
Right, very nice.
Story by Steven Spielberg, starring it's the stories by Steven Spielberg. I looked it up. Why did you hesitate me there?
No, I didn't.
You kind of went,
No, I was just saying, I was just saying the Carry On. They're here.
Oh my God, I cannot hear you properly then?
Sorry. Make sure I'm coming through loud and proud.
So it's starring Craig T. Nelson, Jo Beth Williams, Heather O'Rourke, Dominique Dunn, and the little boy is Oliver Robbins. It is one of the best 80s films for me. I just absolutely adore this film so much, and probably more just because of the story's great. The story's fantastic. It's spooky. It's scary. It's got all the practical. Everything's done practically.
Yeah.
Even from the room, the bed spinning, everything is practical effects. That tree is all practical.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's also got a curse next to it, like. What more can you ask for in a movie? It has everything in there.
It's probably one of the, like, other than The Exorcist, one of the films that has been lampooned, shall we say, so much. I think The Simpsons done it, Family Guy's done it. Like I say, I think everyone's took a reference of the film. I'm going to go a bit controversial here. I did love this film, but I enjoyed Poltergeist 2 more.
Never seen it.
I thought, because it had the whole preacher guy with it. He was was really quite freaky.
That's actually on my notes as well, because obviously you kind of talk about you can't talk about Poltergeist without talking about the curse, and the curse really is around obviously the
Death
major
of-
deaths
yeah.
that took place. So you've got Heather O'Rourke, who died at the age of 12
Yeah.
by being wrongly diagnosed. I can't remember what it was, but she was wrongly diagnosed, and it ended up where you saw, if you watch Poltergeist 3, she was heavily on steroids at the time, and her face all puffed out, and she was so poorly. She died shortly after that. But also the murder of Dominique Dunn. So Dominique was murdered by her ex-partner outside of her house. They'd split up. He was a very possessive person. They split up. Apparently came to say goodbye to her, took her out the house and strangled her on her front doorstep. And actually there's another actor, Miguel, I don't think of his surname. I didn't even write it down either. I didn't take note of it. He was in the house at the time, and he thought they were having a struggle, and went to go and ring the police, and then he screamed for her and said that he's dead. But I read it, and because she is the daughter of Dominic Dunn.
Right.
Her brother is, oh my God, Griffin Dunn.
Yeah.
From American Werewolf in Paris.
Right.
And
that film was never made. There was no American Werewolf in Paris. It didn't happen.
What was it called?
No, it did happen, but it's that bad. It didn't happen. The American Werewolf in London was a brilliant film, but the second one was not good.
Can you remember my 18th birthday? Can you remember?
Well, you're going back nearly 20 years now, so.
On my 18th birthday, there's about nearly 18 of us piled into my room and ended up watching that American Werewolf in London. That's what we ended up watching because it was freezing outside. That's what I did on my 18th birthday.
Is that the one when I speared out your window?
That was my 19th.
That was your 19th. Right. I remember that one.
Yeah, that was me.
I'm going to apologise to your mum the next day. That wasn't a good one.
That is so funny. But no, so I read a really interesting article from her dad, Dominic Dunn, and it was his side of everything, and it was so sad but quite uplifting. Like how he was able to continue on. Like she was so important to him. Like she had his name.
Yeah.
And it was just so sad. But there's also the other two cast members who died in Poltergeist 2, which one of them was the preacher guy.
Yeah.
And I've never seen Poltergeist 2. I'm very funny when it comes to sequels. And like I've never seen Exorcist 2, even though I've heard it's absolutely brilliant. I've never seen it.
I think I'm trying to remember the Exorcist 2. I can't remember. I remember the third one. Because apparently there was a serial killer in it. I think, was that right? Or was that?
No, that's the first one.
That's the first one.
So
right.
when she's being examed, in the room,
that was it. Sorry.
The guy who's examining her is a serial killer.
Yeah. No, I remember. But no, like say going back to the Poltergeist, like absolutely brilliant. Like the cast was great, and it's interesting when you say about the curses because, like I said, you don't really hear many other any normal films like a Disney film being cursed and stuff. It's always around about like a horror film or something that's supernatural where there's these curses. I know there's like say bad things that do happen, but you always hear about these curses that come. I think it's a good ploy to get people to get interested in the films.
Exactly. I mean, the fact that they used real skeletons as props, like that's fantastic. But it has some of the best lines in there. Craig T. Nelson, when he absolutely chews the scenery over you took the headstones but you never took the bodies, is one of the greatest scenes ever. I actually recorded so anytime I watch it so I can just rewatch that because he screams why at the end and it's so good. I love it so much. But Poltergeist is my number 3. I've gone and snapped my nail while we were talking.
That was number 2.
Oh, was it number 2? Do you know why? Because it's on my list as number 3. Sorry. So number 2.
Sorry, I'll keep you right.
Thank you. Your number 2.
A film I watched last night, so you'll probably already know about it. I put pictures up of what I was watching.
I can't remember what I did this afternoon, man.
13 Ghosts.
Oh wow! Right.
Now
you'll have to remind us of the story because I feel like I have seen it, but a very long time ago.
It is a very cheesy film at times, but the whole premise, I think's really good. I think I was talking about people the other day. If they made a TV show out of a horror film, this would be perfect for a TV show, because it's based on, like, say, the 12. I'm trying to think of the right words now. It's like not. It's you know, the 12 different symbols of the Black Zodiac. That's the one, the Black Zodiac. Right. So that's like the Juggernaut, the Jackal, like the Princess, and the Withered Lover and stuff. And basically, this rich, it's always the rich megalomaniac, has this idea of how to, like, build this machine to take over the world. It's called the Oculus, where it's called like Hell's Eye, and you let them see anything that's happened in the past, anything that's happened in the future, and basically he's trapping these ghosts and moving them into this house that's made of, like, glass. It's got curses all over it, and when the capture, like at the start, they're capturing the last ghost that they need. It's the Juggernaut, the big fuck off monster that's just, like, was a serial killer in the life before, but they make a joke of it, saying, "Oh, I thought he only killed 9 people." And there's but what the sensing is, he's got about 50 bodies here, and he says, "No, that's the numbers he killed when he's alive. These are the ones he's taken after he's died." Matthew Lillard's in it from Scream fame, and he's playing a psychic who. He thought his performance in Scream was good. He's absolutely amazing in this. And, like, say, if you touch him, he can get all your history and stuff and all your pain. And he's very eccentric, but he doesn't know why Cyrus is capturing these ghosts. And when they capture the big one, Cyrus is killed. And then his house is given to his nephew. Arthur, who's played by the guy who used to be in Monk. You remember the TV show Monk?
Oh,
it was like a detective cop show in the 90s, and my dad used to love it. But he's basically given this house with his kids because he's lost his wife, like, tragically a few months earlier, and he's basically, and they go in this house, and it's absolutely beautiful. Like I say, a glass house, everything you could ever wish for. It's like everything amazing, but every so often one of the ghosts gets released. Now, and the ghosts are absolutely horrific, and it's got Shannon Elizabeth out of the American Pie in as well.
Yeah, I think I've seen this. Yeah.
Like I say, it's got a big cheesy ending where it's like, the hero saves the day and stuff like that, but it's fun. It's like a haunted house film. That's the thing. Like, if you went to, like, say, if you went to Florida during the Halloween Horror Night, you went on one of the mazes, this would be what that film is. It's basically every turn is a different thing. Now, it's not what I would class as a brilliant film or the best film. It's just what I would class as entertaining, and you can watch it and never get bored.
Exactly, and this is why we have conversations like this, because it's how a film makes you feel, not how you think you should enjoy it, because that's what the reviews have said you should enjoy it. And I am a dickhead for always checking Rotten Tomatoes. Every time I watch a film, I always check the Rotten Tomatoes scores. It does not even impair on my thought process when it comes down to the film I've just watched, but I always go to see what the score is. I don't know why. I don't know.
Nick is the same. She always, but she, like, once then, if it's a bad review, she'll always want to watch it just to
see how bad it is.
Telling her that she'll not enjoy it.
One of my picks is actually 20% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Right. Okay. And but to be fair, most horror films don't score that highly anyway, do they? When it comes down to it.
No, unless it's Oscar-winning one with Get Out, which I didn't put on my list, even though I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't put it on my list because I've only ever watched it once, and I don't feel like I can talk about something I've only seen because I have a terrible memory and have to watch. This is why I watch things over and over again. But I do believe I've watched 13 Ghosts, but probably in my early 20s.
Yes. So that's one of the reasons I like it as well, because it reminds us of when I'm watching it, and like not in my teenage, when I was a little bit older, but going to the pictures, seeing it with my friends, and I wouldn't say it's scary, but it's entertaining. That's the thing. But
Yeah.
like say the effects they use with the ghost as well, a lot of the makeup is, as you said, practical effects, and it's done to a degree where it's done really well. And the whole idea of like you can't see the ghost all around us, but there's these specs that we can put on and then just see them. So anyone who's wearing these specs can see these ghosts, or like say they're passing the glasses around each other and stuff. But it's just like say I'm trying to think, it's got like a likability factor to the film as well. You can't help but like it.
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, Matthew Lillard's like.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what he does. I just thoroughly enjoy watching him. He's such a. He's such a character actor. Like he proper gets into it. Like from like he's a standout star in Scream for me.
Yes.
Like, Scream is nothing if Matthew Lillard's not in it. And even in what was it? Oh, She's All That. He is hilarious for me. He's hilarious in that. But he's really what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a character actor. Like
I'm trying to think of a film I loved him in. Was it Dead Man on Campus, where one of the
no, it's not that. Matthew Lillard's not in there. It's
sure.
no, it's him from Scary Movie.
The one where there's another one as well where he's in a similar type of film. I might be thinking of it wrong, but I'll find out for you. I'll see what it's called. But yeah, like I say, in this he is absolutely brilliant. Like I say, his mannerisms. Like I say, he does a big speech about him being a bit of a freak as well. And as you know, with your Scream, when he gets emotional, spit and everything flies out. It's always entertaining to watch. But I can still remember it.
Do you know he's in Scream 2?
He's in Scream 2?
Yeah. Like for a second. So he was with Neve Campbell. They were filming Scream 2, and he was on set one day, and there is a scene where I think she's on a balcony, and you can see a bunch of students walking below her. He's one of the students.
Right. Okay.
He's actually just like a walking person across the screen, and I thought that was so clever. I've watched hundreds of documentaries on Scream. I just love it. It is, and because it's a slasher, I couldn't put it in here.
No, it's. Like I say, to be honest, if it was a slasher ones, I think when we do because like I say, we can't have this podcast and not talk about like I say the Screams and stuff. I think like I say, our top 5 are going to be pretty much going to be the same. Like Halloween's going to be in there.
But exactly, and this is why you've got to change it up a bit. You've got to do like, yes, a slasher, but there's got to be some particular element that you take out of it. So a certain film would be taken out of the equation, and it's trying to be clever enough to think of those things. But going back to Dead Man on Campus, me and Anth always go, "Your brain, Buckley, your brain." Just love that line. It's such a good film. I don't watch it enough. It is really funny. Are we ready to move on?
Yes, it's your turn, young lady.
What are we up to? 3? Is this 3? This is 3. Right, okay. So number 3, I'm going to go with the one that I kind of hesitate. I didn't quite hesitate on putting it in the list, but I thought if we did another list that was an all vampire one, I wouldn't be able to put it in there. So, but then I thought it's still one of my favorites. It's 1987. It's Lost Boys.
Right, so I've got that one on my list as well.
Oh, have you really? Okay, so we can have a bit of a proper chat about it. So,
yes.
I did not know this. Well, I did obviously know this, but I totally forgot that Joel Schumacher died last year.
Did I?
No,
I think I remember about it, yeah.
June last year. Totally forgot that he died last year. How could you not love this film?
It had everything. It had, like, say, teenage angst. It had romance. It had Kiefer Sutherland as a really cool vampire that everyone wanted to be.
The best mullet going.
Yep. I think some of the best things were in that film. Like, say, even was it a Nook the dog? I absolutely adored the dog.
Oh, he's an Alaskan Malamute. It was like when me and Anne first got together, we were always going to get a dog, and it's going to be Nanook from Lost Boys. And now that we've got 2 cats, that's never going to happen.
You can always get a white cat next and call it Nuke.
Oh, hey, if Beatrice, my girl cat, wasn't the biggest bitch walking, and when it comes to other cats, because Baxter's been home how 8 years now.
Yeah.
She's still not forgiven us for him being home. So if she wasn't the way she was with other cats, I would have a house full. We love having cats in the house, but Beatrice just makes it so difficult.
See,
So
so
no white cat.
Ruby's that scared of other cats, so that's why when we got Salem, we had to rehome him after 2 weeks because she just wouldn't come out from under the bed.
Oh,
She's the most timidest cat you'll ever meet, but she's lovely.
That is one
us,
thing.
but nobody else.
But that is one thing we've not mentioned on here. We are actually related through cats.
Yes.
Through cats. Ruby and Baxter are brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went to go and see Baxter, when I first, because it was Nick, God thank for Nick, if she didn't text us to say that Rachel lost my number and I've given her your number, I wouldn't have had Baxter.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Nicole who saved the day and give Rachel my number so I could go and pick the cat up. But we went to go and visit, and my mum came with us, and Ruby, who she wasn't Ruby, she was Penny.
Yeah, that was the original name. But Nick decided to change it after about a week, I think.
Because I remember telling us that's Nicole's cat Penny, and my mum just fell in love with her just because she was the only tortoiseshell one there. I absolutely fell in love with her. But yeah, we're totally getting off the topic of Lost Boys.
Yes.
It had to happen one time where cats came into it.
True. We've had, like I said, this is episode 5 now, isn't it? So yeah, I've been cat free since, so it's been all right. But yeah, Lost Boys. I can't remember. That's like normally when it's a film like say I love, I can remember when I first watched it, but I can't remember the first time I watched Lost Boys. I can just remember always watching it.
Yeah, that's the same here. But I do remember the first time I introduced it to my nephews. Right. So my youngest nephew, who turned 16 on Thursday, he loves horror. So he likes my kind of horror. He likes the slashers. My middle nephew, he likes more supernatural. So he loves he watches a lot of ghosty stuff.
Yeah.
My eldest nephew, he was like 22. Doesn't get as much involved as the other two do, but I remember sitting down with the other two and watching Lost Boys, and Luke just loved it. Like Taylor wasn't really that interested, but Luke just absolutely loved it, and just watching his face, watching it for the first time, I was like, oh, I wish I could have that feeling. I wish I could remember when I actually saw it. But I had the great pleasure of meeting half the cast in 2019.
Yes.
I got to meet Jason Patrick, who was incredibly shy. For somebody who was sat in a signing table, incredibly shy. Alex Winter, who was a proper chatty Nancy, he was lovely. The guy who played the saxophone, Tim Capello, who's I've already said it on here before, nicest guy in the world, just so lovely. One of the Frog Brothers, Jameson I've actually scratched his name out for some reason, because apparently I didn't think it was that important to have it on my list.
You're listening, I'm sorry.
He was lovely. I think he does a podcast. And I was with Carolyn's brother, and he was chatting away. They're just really chatty, nice people. Didn't make the whole thing uncomfortable. Yeah. Keeper obviously had a private section, which I did not pay for, but Carolyn did. Yeah. She got to go and do the photograph, and then they did like a big group photograph with everyone there. It was lovely. It was just reminds us why I absolutely loved the film in the first place. But there were a few people who weren't there. Obviously, Corey Haim, which is just incredibly sad. Corey Feldman was not there, and I believe that is due to the difficulties of Corey Feldman in conventions. Apparently, he's not the easiest person to get into conventions.
Has he not got like a travel ban or something?
It would not surprise me. But all the Living Lost Boys were there. And then obviously got Diane Weist. Is it Weist or West?
I don't know. Diane Weist. But going back to, like I say, that I would love to have, like I say, I don't know if I would like to meet Keith Sutherland. I would like to get something signed by him, of course, but I'd be terrified if he was an arsehole, just simply because, like, the films he was in when my childhood would just destroy, like, he would kill. I would not be able to watch films like Stand By Me again. Otherwise, that would just have Flatliners as well. It would break us if he wasn't what I hoped him to be. But going back to the actual film, Lost Boys, this was probably the first film that the soundtrack had an impact on us as well. Because I love music. Don't get us wrong. I am a big music. Like I said, music's a big part of my life. But I wasn't really that bothered about it when I was younger. It was more the films. And when I heard the soundtrack to Lost Boys, like the Doors and stuff like that, and just that dum 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 dum, just like I say, it gives you goosebumps, and because it's the first time I thought I could hear a soundtrack and I would know the film's going to come on.
Yeah. Still believe, like, that is on mine and Ant's playlist because it is such a good fucking song. Like, it proper, like, it sounds ridiculous, but when I hear it, I feel like hot summer day, because that's how I can picture when it's playing on the film. Like, it's the end of the night. It's like, I love it. I can't describe it without sounding weird.
The way I best describe it feels like the 80s. Like, if you want to describe like anything to do with the 80s, it was hair metal, rock, leather thong trousers. But like say, long mullets, leather jackets, earrings, a little bit of guy liner as well. But,
definitely.
But like say, it's like it is necessarily the story's basic. It's basically good versus evil. But when I was younger, I was a bit stupid. I didn't get the twist. I didn't guess the twist. I normally I can guess the twists now.
It's called The Lost Boys. It's based on J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan. Like, that's where the premise of it comes from, which is why I always thought it was a brilliant take on the actual The Lost Boys. And I love it. I want to live in Santa Carla.
Even though it's the murder capital of the world.
I don't care. I don't care. It just looks like a lot of fun.
Very much so.
But is Santa Carla, this is what I couldn't find out, is Santa Carla a real place? It's not, is it? Because it was filmed in Santa Cruz, and Santa Cruz, the hierarchy in Santa Cruz said, you're not using the name, we're not being known as the murder capital of California. That's not happening. So I think they had to change the name to Santa Carla, but I could not confirm that when I was doing me.
Listening to this and knows the answer, please put in the comments. That'd be quite interesting to know that. So yeah,
I'm sure I read somewhere before that Santa Cruz said you're not using our name. You can film there, which they did, but I don't know. I don't know if Santa Carla is real or not. Right. And I actually have like loads of question marks next to it on my notepad just in case you knew.
No, I don't. I never heard that before, so that'd be quite interesting. Maybe if anyone knows, when we sit on the Facebook group, places like imaginary places you want to go to Santa Carla.
Because it's apparently, I don't think it's real. Right. But I don't know America that well too. No. Or California, because it's California is huge.
The state of California is just massive.
Massive amount. Yeah.
Well, if any Americans listen, please let us know.
Please let us know. Please let us silly UK folk know. So do you want to go on? Where we're now?
We'll say that's our joint third, but like I say, I'll just go into my fourth and you.
Okay.
Fourth. So, because I'm leaving one till last because I think we're going to have a bit of an argument over it.
I've got my last one, and it's just because of the information I have around it is interesting to talk about. So go for it.
So I'm going to go with the next one. This one I put in. It was a toss up between two very similar type of films, but I went with this one because it scared us the most. Now it's the original Blair Witch Project.
I don't have it on my list, but I totally get it.
Totally get it. At the time, I was at college when this came out. It was the date 1999.
It was our first year of college because we were not friends then.
Sorry.
We became friends. No, we became friends in our second year of college. I saw it in college, but I was not friends with all of you. We made friends in our second year of college.
Was that when I was knocking about with Brewster and Bungle and
Yeah, that's right.
Claire,
And then we
Davidson.
met in this. It was the second year that we all met.
Yeah.
But I saw it with the people I was knocking around with at the time, and yeah, so it was the first
To
year
me,
of college.
everything that was involved with this film was absolutely brilliant. It was the first time where they used marketing this way, where they made it feel like everything was real. Like the start, the marketing must have been a year before it actually there was talk of the film coming out.
They had websites set up. They took all. They had no information on the actors or actress in there, so you couldn't. No. It's not like today where you would find out Wikipedia and at IMDb. There was nothing like that. Yeah. We knew nothing about these people. There was websites set up for like missing posters of them as well. Fantastic marketing campaign. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I remember because, like I say, we're going on the college computers. Me and a few of my friends were obsessed with just reading information and saying, "What the fuck is this? Is this really happening? Like this cannot be real." Then when you saw the first trailer and you thought, "Okay, this looks like it could be interesting." Again, it doesn't really give much away. It's you normally see the main character, what was she called, Heather, because they actually used the actors' real names in the film and stuff as well.
Heather
Donahue, yeah. So you're looking at the camera and you see the bogey dropping out and stuff. Like I know they took the piss out in certain films as well afterwards. But
can't remember what she had for breakfast, but you can remember Heather O'Donoghue.
But yeah, like then when because I remember when it was the Bolton Cinema, and right next to where I live now, it just opened. So like I say, or not open that long.
Was it Virgin as well? Can you not remember the Virgin bit in it where it had all
I had
the
Virgin
figures?
Megastore inside because you used to buy loads of DVDs when I was there as well.
That's how I found out.
It was
That's
Virgin. Yes.
Megastore or something?
Yes, it was the Virgin Megastore.
That's how we found out Lord of the Rings was coming out.
Right.
We saw promotional posters behind one of the counters, and we went, "Oh, what's that?" And they were like, "Oh, it's the trailers hasn't even hit yet, but we've getting all the promotional stuff for it." Brings it out, and it's the ring with just the date on the bottom. I would have done anything just to snatch it out of their hands. I really would have. But that's how we found out Lord of the Rings was coming to cinema. It was a good day. I do remember Bolton when it first opened.
But I still remember. I think if people watch The Blair Witch now, they'll probably get a similar reaction to probably what I did. I know you're going to hear this when I watched The Exorcist. A little bit disappointing, but to me, when you're sitting in the cinema, pitch black, after the whole campaign you went through, you were on the edge of your seat. You were just thinking, "What's going to happen? What's going to happen?" And then when they were getting lost and things like. They were getting on each other's nerves and they were getting on our nerves when we were watching as well because the actors were fucking annoying. They didn't do it. They did very, very much all the horror tropes that he screams in. Why would you do that? Don't do that.
Heather was infuriating. Some of her decision making was just, and the way she whined, it just was annoying. But
and then when was it Michael or was it Joshua who kicked the map? Who said, "Oh, when this went a little bit insane," he said, "Oh, where's the map?" Or I kicked away because it was useless. You felt yourself getting angry at it as well,
raging at it.
And when they found the house at the end, it left you with more questions than answers. It give you, and like when you see him in the corner, is he dead? Is he possessed? Is what's happening? And you see the little kid's handprints all over the house as well. Everything was quite disturbing. Yeah, when they went in the house, I don't know if it was made out well, but like I say, it looked like there was handprints all over the house.
Wow, I didn't even pick up on that. I was just when you get to that bit, I'm all just like, what's he looking at? Mm-hmm. What's happened to him?
It was before that bit when he got in that room, when she was going up the stairs, along the stairs. It looked like, to me, I might be wrong, but that's what I interpreted as like was handprints up the wall.
Oh my god! No, I never. I only watched. I watched it when it came out in the cinema, and I've only watched it possibly a couple of times afterwards because it isn't really a film that you can like the Conjuring where you can just stick on and
because there's so many little aspects, and when you see like the little tree people as well, they start appearing all over the place, and then you try and spot them. Like say the bits in the tents when you're hearing noise and stuff. Again, it scares you. It's like you think, oh, it's just like little things, but again, it's the not known aspect that guys. Now, because I mentioned at the start, there was two similar type of films I was going to put in this one, because the other one I love, but the kind of spoiled it with all the sequels, was Paranormal Activity. Again, first person shooting, where you just see what the people see as well.
This is the reason I didn't put handheld camera films into it, because I thought that was a list in its own, because me and Anth absolutely love the handheld camera aspect of horror. So we love VHS.
Yeah.
And we really enjoyed that. The only one we didn't like of Paranormal Activity was the with the, I think it was 4, might have been 4. Didn't thoroughly enjoy that one, but the rest of them we really liked, especially when it was all connected to the sisters. When you weren't connected with the sisters, we weren't really that bothered. But we love handheld footage films,
like found footage type.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like Cloverfield.
Yes.
So, and stuff. Yeah. So I just thought that was a category in its own. That's why I didn't put anything, because I would have put VHS in there, because that is absolutely terrifying, and it's an anthology, and we love anthology films too. So it was like everything we love was in there, but I didn't put it in because I thought it was like a list of it in itself.
So you're trying to edit yourself to, like, say that's what no, that's a good way of looking at it, because, like I say, there's plenty of material we can't talk about. Like I say, probably go on hours and hours, but like I said, that was my choice out of the two of them, just because of the non-slasher aspect. But the Blair Witch, Jesus, that if you were thinking about how to make the most from doing as little as possible, they absolutely smashed that. Isn't it still, I might be wrong, is it still the most profitable film that's being made? Because with how much it costs to make it to how much it pulls through the thing.
And imagine so. It definitely. It was genius, like, for the time. Like, now it's not like you couldn't get away with it now, but back at the time it was just genius, perfect marketing. And the fact that they never interviewed the actresses and actors, it's only been in the last few years that you've actually had them come out, Heather especially, come out and do interviews about the film. They didn't even talk about it afterwards for a long period of time. And I actually thoroughly enjoyed Book of Shadows, the Blair Witch Book of Shadows.
And the most recent one I enjoyed as well, even though it went a little bit crazy towards the end.
I've not watched it, but just for what it was, I enjoyed it.
Yes, so that's my number 4.
That is cool. So my number 4, is it number 4? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's number 4 on my list. So this was brought up, not this film, but it was brought up in the group chat last night, and I said I'll tell you my thoughts on it. It's 2005 Rob Zombie's Devil's Rejects.
Ooh.
It's not House of Thousand Corpses, because that film makes no sense. But it is Devil's Reject, which does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I can go back to this film and watch it. I could watch every day and think nothing of it. And it's mainly the story I find's good. It does follow on from House of a Thousand Corpses, but literally just the end part. The idea of House of a Thousand Corpses is very much Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's just one fucked up house.
Yeah.
And they end up getting caught out. And then at the beginning of Devil's Rejects, they're on the run from the police because they come and raid the house.
Yeah.
Regardless of all the Dr. Satan shit that took place in House of a Thousand Corpses, they're on the run.
But they made it more human rather than...
exactly. The Dr. Satan aspect of House of a Thousand Corpses, I can watch the first 20 minutes of that up until where they get in the house, and Sherry Moon does a little dance routine, and then that's it. I could turn it off and think nothing of it. Because I just don't get the Dr. Satan part. It doesn't even continue on in Devil's Rejects, or even the third one, which came out 2019, which again I didn't mind it, but it didn't have the same feel as the Devil's Rejects. The acting in this is Bill Moseley is amazing. This is
to be fair, I can understand what you're saying, but do you not think it's Bill Moseley being Bill Moseley a little bit?
a little bit. But do you know what it is? It's Chop Top tuned down to 1,000. He's taken Chop Top and just tuned him down, and he's got Otis absolutely spot on to where he is absolutely terrifying.
Oh, he's sinister as fuck.
Oh, definitely. But I
think that's what I said in the post last night when I mentioned the House of a Thousand Corpses. I love the characters like Captain Spaulding. Great
Well, that's what I was going to get into next, was Sid Haig.
But the premise of the film, I can get it to a certain point, then it gets utterly ridiculous. And I think Rob Zombie does that quite a lot with his films.
Oh, definitely. Look at
Lord of Salem. With Devil's Rejects, and again, it doesn't, like, it's kind of like someone's kind of telling them to stop a little bit, so he's kind of reined himself in, and it works beautifully.
He's so good. Sid Haig, amazing. Oh, sad day when Sid Haig died. He was meant to be at For the Love of Horror in 2019 when we were there, and obviously he passed away just beforehand. And what they did was they kept his booth with his picture next to Bill and just an empty chair and a condolence book. And it was lovely. They still included him even though he was gone. They did a package video for him, and we all had a minute silence. And just that, like, that feeling of sadness just went across that convention in that minute silence. It's bizarre having a full place just go like nothing.
Doesn't happen that often, type thing.
It doesn't, but Sid was brilliant. Captain Spaulding is one of, if not the best horror characters there is. Some of his
the look is unbelievable.
Spot on. The way he talks, how fast he can talk, his comebacks are brilliant. He doesn't miss a beat. He is brilliant. Sherry Moon Zombie. I do like Sherry in this film. I like Sherry
because of who she is.
Exactly. But I do like Sherry in general as a person, as well as an actress. I wasn't too bothered about Baby Firefly in the first one, in House of Thousand Corpses, but she was on the level of sadistic as Captain Spaulding and Bill Moore and Otis. There was no different. Like, she wasn't playing catch up with them at all. If not, she could be 10 times worse than what they are.
Yeah. You know what it reminds us of? The first, I'd say, probably not the full film, but the first half of From Dusk Till Dawn. Devil's Rejects felt like that up until like the vampires come in, but the whole aspect of, like, say, the family on the run and stuff, and the violence and stuff, everything come out. But, like, say, it just felt like Quentin Tarantino's character in that, but amped up, like, with all three was done. Just going back to Captain Spaulding, sorry, I was looking for a picture because one of my good friends, you'll know him on the group, Leighton.
Leighton?
Yes.
Yes,
He got dressed up. I'm just trying to find the picture, and he did the best Captain Spaulding's picture. So, seeing if you can pick that up.
Oh my god!
So hopefully Leighton's watching this, so there's a picture of him on the podcast.
Oh, Leighton, that is classic. I'm sure I saw it. He's the look is just iconic. The when he shouts at the kid in the car is just brilliant. But when the acting in this is spot on. There's not one person in it who's dragging their heels, and the one person who and as much as I love the original actress, I wish she was in the first one, is Leslie Easterbrook as Mama Firefly. She took over from Karen Black. The monologue she does in the prison when she's taunting the policeman who she knows that, like, his brother's been killed by them, and she's taunting them, is so brilliant. It gives us chills just listening to her go off on one. Even when she gets slapped in the face, she still spits back at him, and nothing scares her. I love Leslie Easterbrook was fantastic. Karen Black was really good, but she just didn't hold the sadistic side that what Leslie did. And Ken Foree's in this as well. Dawn of the Dead. Ken Foree, who's Sid Haig's brother, I think. He was Captain Spaulding's brother. He worked in the brothel.
Right.
Yeah, it was cool. But yeah, Tutti fucking fruity. Absolutely love this fucking film.
Good check.
So that's my number 4.
No problem. So with us having won the same, we're going to move on to my last pick, and we're going to get into this fight because I'll argue every day that this is a horror film.
Ding, ding, ding. I'm ready.
So the one and the only, the original Alien film.
The fucking
Now,
sci-fi.
It's not a sci-fi. Just because it's based in space doesn't make it a sci-fi film. If you think about it as a horror film, and in general, it's got one monster that's looking after trying to chase the cast, and they are hiding. And just because if you set that on Earth or in any type of haunted house, it would be the same premise of any other scary film.
If you have to use that as horror film, then even you are questioning what you're seeing.
I think Alien. The way I would argue, Aliens is an action sci-fi film, the sequel, because it's more action.
Yes,
Alien is more slow out. It's drawn out. There's so much tension built up in it, and like say with the whole Ash as the conniving cyborg in the background.
He was a bit of a dick, wasn't he?
I think, like say, if you done like say an X-Files show or like say a Supernatural episode where you had a monster of the week where each person's going in different, like say if you were in a haunted house and going into a different room and then other people would disappear and dying off, and that face, and like say the face hugger and everything, that's terrifying. You can't tell me that's not scary.
Yeah, I'm not backing down from the fact that it's a sci-fi film. I'm not, but I do get where you're coming from. I actually have a full-sized face hugger, but he's not in here. He's in Ant's room, hanging up on the wall. Yeah, I really do love the shit out of Alien, but I do class it as sci-fi. I'm sorry, I don't class it as horror, but I do get where you're coming from. When I said I would argue with you earlier, and I didn't mean I was going to really argue with you because I can see your point of view, but it's in space. Would you class Event Horizon as sci-fi or horror?
Horror.
It's sci-fi. It's a sci-fi fucking film.
It's just because it's in space, but the whole because they're going into hell, the hell dimension. So,
I just reminded myself of Event Horizon, and I really fucking like that. I love that film.
When I was younger, it's Event Horizon only came out when I was older when I started enjoying it.
I really love it.
Yeah, but
the bit where he turns inside out, man.
I know it's a completely different film, but I always think of Event Horizon as being a little bit like Hellraiser as well. Aspects of it being like say the corruption.
I really don't like Hellraiser. I can't
don't watch it. It's one of them uncomfortable watches.
And it makes no goddamn sense. It really doesn't. With that one. I'm sorry. If someone would nicely explain to me what's going on, then I'll listen. But I can watch that film a million times and still not have a fucking clue what I'm watching. Apart from what's his name? Pinhead. No, Clive Barker wrote it.
Clive Barker wrote it.
Doug Bradley.
Doug Bradley, yes.
I would have been ashamed. Do you know what? I actually have an autographed picture in my bedroom of Doug Bradley.
Remember Michael Dixon? He used to be obsessed with Doug Bradley. Like he would stalk him to the point. He knew where he was going to be at certain things. But yeah, he used to be obsessed with Doug Bradley for some reason. He always used to talk about him.
Weird. I have quite a lot of Clive Barker's books, and they are so hard to read. And Hellraiser is just as confusing as they are. But that's beside the point. We are talking about Alien.
But I say when you think about it as well, it was probably one of the first films that cast because if it was say as you said an action or a sci-fi, the female lead wasn't really to be done. Like the female,
that's true.
Big star, the female survivor.
Would you class her as a final girl and a scream queen?
Not a scream queen, but I would class her as a final girl because, to be honest, she's not been killed off, has she? And say the rest of the crew, her and Jonesy made it out.
Jonesy, I love the cat Jonesy.
Yeah, Jonesy. But I like the whole premise of it as well. Like this is why I had problems with the sequels that came out. Not so much Aliens and Aliens 3, but
I really enjoyed them. There's nothing wrong with them.
But the whole Alien versus Predator and stuff, because the whole premise of the Aliens films was didn't want the alien to get to Earth, because if it got to Earth, then it would cause death and destruction and probably the end of the world. And then when they turned around in Alien versus Predator and all aliens have been here all along, just pissed us off so much.
I don't think they should ever have meshed the two together. Predator is a great film. I can quote that until the sun comes up. And Alien is, I think they should just be kept separately. What I do love about Alien is the noise that she makes when she opens her mouth. It just, I absolutely love it. I don't know why that noise gives us like chills. I love hearing it, and I think because like Beatrice can do it very simple. When Beatrice sees birds, she does like a clicky noise. It sounds like that.
But what spoiled that bit for me was Family Guy when the spoof did, and it was getting, oh, here's my little mouth coming out now, and kind of like made a joke of it. But no,
Baseballs did it great though. Hello,
Spaceballs.
my baby. Hello, my darling.
But the whole premise, like even the design of the aliens, who was the designer again? Was it a guy again? No, was it a guy again?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, like say the whole like fluidity and like say the organics of it, and like even the mechanics of it as well.
Stunning.
Just everything was beautiful. Like say even to the design when it popped out the belly as well. I know, like say we were at the age where we knew what was going to happen a little bit. Things like that was spoiled for us because it's been out a few years, exactly for Spaceballs and stuff. But to be honest, it's still, I would say, it scares us when you think of like it's a beast that cannot be stopped. Like if you chop it up, it bleeds acid on you.
I know. The only one bit that really knocks us about that scene is the other female who's in the crew.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, "Oh God!" It just really irritates us. Do you know who she is? So she's the little girl from the Birds.
Really?
Huh? Yeah, yeah. She really irritates me in that bit. She goes, "Oh God!"
It's one of them films that, like, even if you didn't class it as a horror, I would just class it as a fucking good film. I would always recommend anyone to watch it if you haven't seen it. It's like I say, it's got perfect acting, scary.
And Weaver in it, man. Come on.
Yeah. But yeah, like I say, that's my top 5.
Okay, so my last one is a little bit different. It is from 1954.
Mm-hmm.
It is part of the Universal Classic Monsters.
Okay.
But it'll not be who you think. At least I don't know who it is. It's Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh.
I only watched this 2018, I think, and it was when I went through a phase of watching. I hadn't seen any of the original, like I hadn't seen Frankenstein, hadn't seen Dracula or Werewolf, and I went through the whole collection of the Universal horror monsters. Dracula is very dated, but Bela Lugosi is like fantastic, but it was just I'm sick of hearing the Dracula.
I was going to say you've seen so many versions of Dracula through the years, like say from the Bela Lugosi to Christopher Lee, to Gary Oldman.
I'm sick. I am at this point. I'm sick of it. Frankenstein really upset us, really upset us, because they create this person, and he doesn't know what he's doing, and he doesn't have any concept of where he's at, and his little assistant starts beating the shit out of him to the point where he loses his temper, because obviously he's just trying to get him away, and then the whole bit with the kid comes up, and then he goes into and I was so upset that it just wasn't his fault. So that really upset us. And then I watched Creature of the Black Lagoon, and like a lot of people who I follow on Instagram, like this is one of their favorites. And a very collectible item as well. And I thought, how is it? And Paul, I'm not going to lie, it's from the 50s, and I was still fucking terrified. There is one scene in there where they capture him, and he's on the boat, and they've got him in water, but they've got a cage over the top of him. All you can see is his eyes on the bottom, so water here, and you can see his eyes here, like his top of his head and his eyes, and the body going down, but they're just moving around, and he is just still sitting in that. It's so intense. It was so intense to watch it, because you're like, what's he gonna do? Like, he's in water, like he's absolutely, he can breathe and everything. So is he gonna? He doesn't move at all.
No. It's one
He
of the
doesn't
classic
blink.
suits as well. Like I say, when you think of like all the different big monsters, like I say, there was the werewolf, the Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, like I say, and Creature of the Black Lagoon. Like I say, that was an iconic outfit. I know, again, calling back to people that we've spoke to recently, Tom Richardson on the Facebook, one of Nick's oldest friends, and he's a canny lad. He absolutely adores all the old films, like the big Frankenstein ones. If he could talk to you for hours about them and stuff like that. He's got, like say, collectors and stuff like that. But that would be right up his street, like you said, the Creature of the Black Lagoon.
So the reason I put this one is it. Obviously, I just enjoyed every moment of it. It was so gripping. Like Julie Adams is just absolutely stunning in this, but also again, makeup and practical effects. So the Gilman suit, there's two of them. There's obviously the underwater one where it's lightweight but it still wasn't going to drown the actor who's in it. And then there's obviously the heavy set one that's used on land where you can see all the detail in it. But the molding of it all, now if you're listening to this on iTunes and Spotify, you're going to see air quotes, was done by Bud Westmore.
Right.
That was the claim. Bud Westmore did the makeup sculpture of Gilman, and for years that's what everybody believed. Up until 2018, maybe 2019, a writer called, oh my God, why can't I think of her name? Mallory O'Mara brought out a book called The Lady from the Black Lagoon, Hollywood Monsters and the Lost Legacy of Millicent Patrick. And it was in that book that she told the story of Millicent Patrick, who actually did the molding and the concept art for Gilman. And Bud Westmore, being the jealous little dickhead that he was, took full credit for it. Kicked her off the scene, and according to she just went into obscurity until Mallory bought her book out.
Right.
It is absolutely fantastic. This woman she used to live on the Hearst Mansions. I can't think of his name. I wish I wrote all these names down because it would have been easier. But she just had such a fascinating life, and she went into animation, and then she went into makeup, and she did what you see, Gilman. That is all her.
Yeah.
And she went on press tours, and she was the one who was selling. If you go online, you'll see our pictures, all dressed up to the nines, and she's got a Gilman head in front of her.
But this is probably before all the different effects that they use now. They're probably like say the lighter stuff, so that would have been all heavy and like probably leather and like really hard rubber and stuff like that.
She did, and she did it herself. Obviously, she had a team, but it was her. It was her work. Bud Westmore was a very jealous man, and he was one of the pettiest out of all of the Westmores. And they go into great detail of how petty Bud Westmore actually was. And he eventually said to the studio, because of the Westmore name, he was able to say to the studio, "You get rid of her, and you put me in her place, or we'll pull every Westmore out of the film." He was that influential that he could use his name to pull out, and he did. And he took full credit for it. He's awful man. But the book, I can't recommend the book enough. I'm showing to the camera. It is The Lady from the Black Lagoon, Hollywood Monsters and Lost Legacy of Millicent Patrick, written by Mallory O'Mara. It is a phenomenal book. Really good. And it's so good because the writer, Mallory, and Millicent have so many similarities. And she finds herself finding out that she has so much more in common than what she actually thought. And it's also how she got the information. It's not easy to find out about a person who didn't want you to know they existed.
Yeah.
And
like it must be
really
so hard,
good.
especially like say it's quite relevant with everything that's going on today with all the Me Too movement, like all the women being taken advantage of or pushed to one side and not getting the credit that they probably were due. So like I say, it's horrible. That's probably she's never going to get that notoriety. But
never. She would be like in her hundreds now, man. She's very much long gone. But it's not it's not good enough. But at least it's something. Like at least Mallory brought her. Like Where did I hear it from? I think it was actually Tom Savini I heard it from. I watched it because Tom Savini is very happy for people to come into his horror makeup school and have you record. And there is a YouTube video from the Grim Life Collective on YouTube, really good channel. And they went to Tom's school and his home, because Tom is very inviting. Like, you can come on in and have a look, and his collection is unreal. And he was the one who mentioned it. He had a picture of Millicent and the Gillman, and he went, book coming out about her, watch out for it, to prove that she actually did it. And it was just, it's so good, and it really not helped because I didn't think it needed the help, but it just cemented the love that I had for the film in the first place.
Oh, good. Really, it's one out of the left field that I probably wasn't expecting, but like I say, you can't beat the classics when it comes to like basic scares, and doing it right. It doesn't matter how old it is. Scary is scary. That's why, like, certain films like these days, like a big one that I'll mention that I enjoyed, and I think a lot of people do enjoy, but there's aspects of it that totally took it away, was like Dragging Me to Hell. There was aspects where that could have been a brilliant scary film, but didn't.
Have I mentioned this on here before, where I said I won't watch that film
because of the cat? The cat, the cat murder.
We'll not watch that film.
No.
I do have a few honorary mentions, and I just want to quickly go through them. I know we've been going for a while. One that I actually thought that you would have on your list, which is why I did not put it on mine.
Right.
And
trying
also
to guess each other now. So
and also it is something I believe could be in a list of its own. Trick or Treat.
Yep, but I would class that as a slasher in a way, because there's a pump, even though it's a monster, but he's running around with a knife killing people.
But it has too many other elements in it. It's anthology, isn't it? It's like because it's different stories within one.
So that's why I left it off.
People Under the Stairs. I
don't enjoy that film. I don't enjoy it. It's scary. It's that scary. I don't like it.
I absolutely love People Under the Stairs. Witchboard, which I'm not just bringing up because the actress who played Linda passed away yesterday. Generally, like, I used to watch this constantly as a kid. Constantly. It was like my friend around the corner who lived down the street from us, she had it, and we used to watch it all the time. And the one that started it all, the horror film that scared the absolute living shit out of us, that I could not sleep in my own bedroom. It's the reason I don't like dolls, and I don't own any dolls as a kid. Fucking Dolly Dearest. That bitch can go and fuck right off. I do not like dolls because of her. She scared me. And the reason I knew I was 8 years old when it started, because it came out in 91. And we got it pretty much straight away.
Yeah, there's a few films I left off. Well, one, because I had a discussion with Nick about it, because I couldn't really class it as a film because it's a mini-series. The original It, because it was a two-part mini.
And then I didn't put It in because I felt it fell in the same category, or the same time of horror as The Conjuring. It's like now horror.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
I'm talking about the original It with
right.
the mini-series was Tim Curry.
See, I wouldn't have picked you to pieces if you had done, because I do really like it.
Because it's not technically a film, it's like, say, it was a two-part mini-series when it originally came out. Others I left off, which potentially could have hit, like I said, because I chose Lost Boys over Interview with the Vampire. I know it's slushy and girly, but I still enjoy it. I
really enjoyed it. It's one of the book as well. I kept it off the list because it's a vampire, and we could possibly do a vampire list. I did, but the book is one of my favorite books. I'm a person who reads a lot of biographies. Like, I love a biography, and fiction is something I very rarely read. But Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire is one of my favorites. It's very much the same as the film. However, there is a few things in it that are a bit different.
Yeah. So that's our top 5 non-slasher horror films. So hope you either agree, disagree, think we're talking shite. Let us know.
Let us know. Exactly. Remember to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, and also come and follow us on Spotify and iTunes.
Yes. So, like I said, this was came a little bit early this week, just because, like I say, work commitments and all them fun and games. So we'll have to think of another top 5 for the next week. But like I say, it's really getting, like I say, it's starting to be more enjoyable, and loving the feedback. A lot of nice, friendly people telling us that they're enjoying us, which I never thought would happen, but
it's always good to hear. So, and yes, and thank you to everyone. I know I said I put a post up earlier today just thanking everyone on the Facebook community page. Thank you is just not enough for what you have, like, for sticking around and the conversations that we're all having, and proving that there's no toxicity there's no need for toxicity in nerdom and fandoms. And you guys just prove it every time by the, how respectful you are for each other, and I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, nerds, and it's just a word, but like I say, anything that you love, like, passionate about, it's all open to conversation. It's just having them conversations and finding like-minded people who enjoy that type of thing, like me and Sam are perfectly fitted for. But yes, so not to get too mushy, we'll leave you on that, and speak to you again next week.
No, do you want to do your proper closing? Come on, you've got to keep it consistent.
True. Sean always takes the piss out of us for same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks. There you go. Thanks very much for listening. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Ta-da.